Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Sunny's guest today is David Henderson. David is the president of Cyberstreams, a complete technology solution provider. With more than 27 years of IT experience, David has developed a unique ability to bridge the communication gap between organizational needs and technology options. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
David, thank you so much for joining me today. I truly, truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming to my podcast.
Yeah, you bet. My pleasure. You and Cam have been so thoughtful and generous. Anything.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And I'm just so excited, super excited about our conversation because I love talking to leaders, entrepreneurs, and especially MSP entrepreneurs. You have had a great journey. And my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about your leadership journey, your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. I've been in IT for almost 30 years now for a small print shop in Seattle. And the owner asked me if I knew what the web was. And 6 months later, I'm a website designer. And I ended up meeting a guy and going to work for him. And my last experience with him was 13 and a half years at Avar, a big Dell reseller, storage, that sort of thing. And, I started out in 2003 as an inside sales guy, and I left in 2016, vice president of service and support. I learned so much during that experience, dealing with people, especially engineers, managing that sort of thing, and found that I really loved leading folks. And there's a very big difference, I think, between leadership and management. Leadership is about setting examples, about showing interest, about getting involved with people, keeping the right people, getting rid of the wrong people. It can be a lot of fun, and I really believe that it's something that can be learned. It isn't something you have to be born with, but to have a passion for it, a drive to want to influence people and see them improve. I have an employee right now that talked about how he finally got the stones to stand up to me about something. And I was so proud of him to step up and do the right thing. So.
Yeah, and Cyberstreams, right? So can you tell us origin, like how did it start? And so tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah. About 10 years ago, when I was working for this other company I talked about, I'd started a service organization and grew that from 0 to 3.5 million in revenue inside a 45 million a year company. And my boss came to me and said, "Hey, now I want you to start a support organization." And immediately went out and bought ConnectWise and got that running in my organization. I was a ConnectWise user group, and I met this young guy dressed like a roofer. It took me just a few minutes to realize that he was really smart and really knew the industry. And a week later, I hired him and came to work for me. And he and I worked side by side to start up a support organization. The owner used to call us the two-headed Hydra. He hated us, that we got along so well and could figure out where to be and what to do. And in 2016, they fired the both of us. And me first, and then a month later, Matt. And 2 hours after being fired, Matt called me up and said, "Hey, I've been talking to a guy about buying him out, and I can't do this by myself. I want to start a business. I want to be a business owner. I want you to be my CEO." We went to Bakersfield, California the next week for Chartech. Met this guy, Brian Laughlin. I keep his business card on my desk because this guy looked me in the eye and said, "You're ready, do it. I'm so excited for you in the model, our cloud first model." And January 1st, 2017, we purchased Apex and we were on our way. 4 years later, we're doing 2 million in revenue.
Wow, that's amazing. And what made that so successful? Like, every company, they have their unique ability, their unique strength. So can you tell me a little bit about your company's that trademark strength? What made you so successful and very fast?
It never is just one thing, right, Sunny? I mean, your journey has been so much more impressive than mine. I know you know the answer, right? But I constantly talk about the three-legged stool: cash flow, employees, and clients. Mm-hmm. And to neglect one means your business falls over. And to this day, I can tell you how much cash is in the bank account. I can tell you what I have in receivables, that sort of stuff. An intense focus in ensuring I have the money to spend to do the things I need to do. An intense focus on employees. I have some regrets of retaining people longer than I should have. To be a great leader means to cut people loose, to set them out, to go find a new adventure, right? And then clients. The guy I used to work for, he hated to lose any client and would spend $10,000 to retain a $5,000 a year client. Me, I focus on ensuring I've got the right clients in the right way. And that just intense focus around those three core areas, I think, are a big part of how we got to where we are.
Very nice. Yeah. So having right clients is so important. And thank you for sharing that. Because sometimes we, just because of that misalignment, we ended up having that relationship where it's really not a win for any one of the partners, like the customer or the service provider. It's tough, and it's okay to have that conversation. First of all, knowing what your ideal customer is or who your ideal customer is, and then being intentional about always understanding that, okay, is that ideal customer served well? And if not, what's working, not working? So thank you for sharing that. I want to have a little bit more conversation on employee side. And I know you have done a great job with your culture. I know you have built a great business. And when you talk about employee and employee experience and employee engagement, can you tell us a little bit about your strategies? What is working for you in terms of employee engagement and employee experience?
I think I came into this with some good experience, having worked for this other company. At one point, I had 25 direct reports. I could not get my owner to let me hire a manager and spread things out a little bit. And it was a toxic place. The owner was just horrible, toxic. And I created this firewall. I had a subculture that I hid from him. I think I learned a lot about, it was my little group, my little team, and I had to protect them. And that shaped some of how I go about things. When Matt and I started this company, initially we had a 280 square foot office. And I used to brag that I was going to get to 25 employees and keep that tiny little office because everybody's got a laptop, work anywhere, anytime, right? Make it comfortable for them. I require everybody on video. So don't call me on the phone. I won't talk to you, right? Staying engaged, staying a part of things. And then, people, I mentioned that you can be efficient with things, but people take time. Mm-hmm. I make a point, and Matt, my partner Matt, has autism, and he has a harder time thinking about how to engage with people and stuff. But we talk all the time about showing interest in people, being involved, being there. I call up, I make my rounds, and I call up individuals and just have a chat. How are things going? What are you up to? Matt once said, I deliver the great shit sandwich. So I often call and have a number of things I want to talk about, and I'll deliver the good news with the bad. I've been credited a number of times by people over the years just being immediate with feedback, right? I can get in and say, you need to do this differently, and then we're done with it, right? I think people just, if you show interest, you're involved, that kind of stuff, it really means something to people. One last thing I mentioned a couple of times about getting rid of people. I learned that hard lesson of trying to hang on to somebody that isn't a right fit. And oh my God, you get rid of the whiner, the complainer, the lazy guy. You get rid of them, and everybody, that is a huge morale booster for your team to put your team together. And I'll say adopting the entrepreneurial operating system and really getting in the pace of having core values, expressing those core values, get it, want it, capacity, the quarterly conversations, having a tool that ensures that you have those regular conversations, that you're engaged, whatever tool it is, to have that pace and pattern is super important.
Yeah, I know, that's well said. People do take time. And when you have that US type of framework, which kind of empowers people, enable people, have that clarity in terms of contributions and towards the corporate goals and everything, it just from the people practices point of view, you are having that system or framework in place, and then giving them that environment to really make sure that people are successful. And when you say, you really kind of when you're saying, okay, how you deliver that bad news is being that open, honest, and transparent, and being able to speak straight, but with love and respect. That is what I'm hearing when you're saying that's what people tell you that you're great at, that being able to be there for them with love and respect, but at the same time, if there are things that are not working, not kind of really hiding them in those conversations. Because sometimes, I see that a lot of leaders, they don't take time to give that frequent feedback, and being able to speak straight kind of keeps that person in dark, and they sometimes don't even know that if they're doing well or they're not doing well. And sometimes just because of not knowing if they're not doing well, not knowing that they're not doing well, it's really it's not being there for them. It's not serving them well when we don't do that as leaders. And thank you for sharing that, being able to speak.
Sunny, it gets so worse than that, right? There's so many owners out there that think if they give praise to an employee, they're going to want a raise, right? So they hold back. Yeah. And then I've seen this many times. Everybody else knows that the owner is upset with Jim except for Jim, right? There's so many of those. Am I in high school? Yeah. Right? It can be from neutral to negative in a big way in terms of how you interact with your clients and what you do. And boy, being open and honest and immediate and direct without passion, right? People are going to appreciate it. Sunny, I'm sorry. I hate it when people say negative or bad news or that sort of thing. If I come to you and I talk about something that's going on with you, if I'm taking the time to talk to you about it, it's because I care about you and I want to help you get there, right? If that's not the conversation is you're fired.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I'm hearing there is that more of being able to have that open, honest conversation, and being able to really see things from where they are, the reality, right? And having that discipline behind that reality, but having that positive and optimistic view. That is, and one thing that, David, A players will only play with A players. And if you put a lot of C players with A players, so some people, when I say C players, people where they will commit to the team members, their own team members, and they don't honor that commitment. And then A players, they figure it out to own that commitment. They honor that commitment. And they want other team players to contribute the same way. And your A players will leave if you don't take care of people where they are not owning their commitment. So, right. So it's that environment of accountability that you have to create as a leader to make sure that you have a strong team, you have strong culture and strong team, and everyone is focused on that one goal and the outcome and the business plan, right? And you did mention a little bit about appreciating, right? Appreciations and recognitions. So can you talk to us, how you go about making people feel recognized?
I'm going to start by saying that I'm in a really exciting and fascinating phase in my journey, and it's developing other leaders in my business. I'm a big fan of E-Myth and what have you, and I think of my business as a product, and I'm developing it all the time. And I look forward to relaxing a lot more. So taking that and putting it in the hands of others is quite an interesting journey, right? And I said earlier, Sunny, a lot of people think leadership is something people are born with. And I believe it's something that you can learn, right? If you have a growth mindset and, you work at it and you seek out mentorship and what have you, that you can learn this stuff. And just being intentional about it, right? Yeah. Look for every opportunity to reach out to people and tell them they're good. And it has to be genuine, right? I mean, if you're, I'll invent something to say to Jim today, that's not going to work. It's gotta be thoughtful, right? And I really honestly believe coming at somebody and saying, I see an area where you need to improve, and let's talk about that, can be just as positive, if not more positive, if you do it right. Because you're saying, I think enough of you, I care enough about you that I want to see you be better. Absolutely. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And are you using any kind of system there, or how do you go about this? Is it like more of a monthly meeting that you do with your next layer, and your next layer they do it with their next layer? Is it a quarterly? Maybe like that if you're using EOS, maybe 555 type of stuff, right. And you have a system where people can appreciate, recognize each other.
Yeah. So we are definitely using EOS. We use 90.io, and we are extremely intentional about using the people analyzer and the quarterly conversations and the 555s. You bet. As a matter of fact, I owe two people quarterly conversation. I've got one scheduled, another I need to schedule, but so at least quarterly. We meet as a leadership team. There's 4 people on our leadership team, and I'm regularly encouraging that immediacy of feedback. I work hard at it. Just when I catch something, Paul, my service director, will say, I want to tell you about something Tracy did. And he is so proud of his team, right? He wants to share when they hit a home run, right? And I'll hang up the phone and call Tracy. Paul just told me a story about you. I want to know more about it, So I'm encouraging that. If it becomes a tool thing, right? Like, I'm going to call somebody once a week, I'm going to check in. It's hard to be genuine, right? When it's looking for those opportunities to swoop in and hit when it strikes, that is so much more right now, right? We also have a few things that we're doing. I give out several $100s a month in little micro bonuses that are based on high fives. So we're pushing and encouraging everybody in the organization to get to. Matt was talking about, he worked at a company where they handed out paper hands, and you could write on it what somebody else did and give them the high five. They can then put their high five in a jar, and it's a raffle ticket for an award, right? So anybody in the company can give out a micro bonus by going in and filling out a high five. Right. So I'm encouraging that kind of recognition from the top down and the bottom up. It's been a few months since I've gotten a high five, so I was thinking about maybe suggesting it to somebody. But anyway, yeah, it's about making it a part of the culture, from the top down and from the bottom up.
Yeah, no, that's so micro bonuses. That's a very interesting concept. So talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, if I'm an engineer, how would this micro bonus works for me at Cyberstreams?
I honestly forget the amount. I believe there's a $5, $10, and $25 micro bonus, and Paul is managing it. But we're constantly reminding people that you're looking for them to have displayed one of our 5 core values. And then we have a form. You go into Teams and you fill out the form. What was the core value you recognized? Who did it? And a little story about how they did it. They submit that, and they get put in for a little micro bonus.
Okay.
I had said to you earlier, Sunny, that I think that rewards and gifts are more impactful. Mm-hmm. It's awfully hard. It's awfully hard to give, regular, here's a little prize, here's a little reward. But I do that kind of stuff also from time to time. We're looking for interests in people and trying to match to that. I think I mentioned to you, we've got some folks on our team from IT by Design, and Priam is just the best. My team got together. I don't remember whose idea it was, but they spent a couple $100, bought a backpack and some cool shit. I mean, stuff an IT guy is going to enjoy. They put in a note card. Everybody signed it. And I think just the act of getting that darn thing from Seattle to India and into Priam's hands, that alone was a huge gift. But that kind of stuff, right, is just so cool to, recognize somebody with something a little more personal.
Yeah, no, thank you for your partnership. And my team always talk about how they are treated by your team members, and just like one team. So they're like, we just don't feel like we are not part of that family. And so they just have that connection because it's your culture, it's how you treat people internally there. And my team, they feel so much love, respect, and care. And they always talk about it, how they always want to go above and beyond because they love working with your team members and your clients, and the overall chemistry there, overall energy that they feel. So thank you for your partnership, and thank you for that culture and what you are really doing for our team members. And I do remember, because I do go to India once a quarter, and I personally took that bag that you have shipped. And I think one of those, I took it to.
Is that you?
Yeah. And
nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So it was, I'm like, who have sent this? They're like, we got it from our partner, and they want to share this with their team members that we, that co-create team that we have. Yeah, and
I've had a couple of folks on your team say that working for us was a unique experience because they are a part of. I'm sorry, I hate saying family because everybody has their family and they go into their family. I'm not here to replace your family, but we are a team. We do care about one another. We want to know. People will ask me. I've referred so many people to you guys. I love you so much. I want to help you. And people have said, well, is there a problem with the accent? Or, there's some bigotry around working with people from India. And I'm like, you know what? My guys are great fathers and husbands, and they take care of their family, and they're humans just like you and me trying to get by. And, I'm immensely proud when they say, we appreciate that you treat us like one of the team.
Yeah, and I want to talk this.
It's that value that will get people and keep people on your team.
Yeah, and I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into your hiring and your culture engagement practices. So if I'm a candidate out there and I'm looking for an opportunity with you, can you talk to me a little bit, why should I work for Cyberstreams? What that culture looks like?
I swear, Sunny, hiring people is one of the most emotionally draining, challenging processes. And we've worked together with some consulting partners, and we contract with Chartech, to tell you the truth, around helping with some of the analysis and what have you. I've had people I had one guy rate us on Glassdoor. He didn't get the job, and he complained about how time consuming the process was. So you're going through a number of steps, disk analysis, things like that, technical things. But then there's this just coming and meeting our folks and talking with them. And you've got to get through a number of steps before you get to me. And I'm not allowed to look at their resume. I'm not allowed to look at anything, talk to anybody. When that person finally gets to me, there's two parts to going out and meeting face to face with Dave Henderson. One is, can you tolerate the energy and passion? And I am a handful, but it's also my opportunity to look them in the eye. Are you going to be truthful with me? Are you right for this? I'm looking for those A players, Sunny, right? And it's a challenge. Something I would say in all of that, TJ Harris is somebody I met, got to know, and used as a mentor. I watched him skyrocket his career until he was president of the organization he worked for. And he said, hire carefully, fire rapidly. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest mistake people make is, if I let this guy go, how am I going to fill the role? What am I going to do if I let him go? And then they'll hold on him just too long. So it's not just about hiring the right people. I always say hiring is like speed dating and leaving the building married, right? Yeah. So you kind of have to have that honeymoon period and be willing to cut bait, as they say. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did. And that's the only way you can collaborate with people, when that chemistry, that energy is in alignment. That's the only way you can collaborate and do some teamwork with people. And so how do you go about what are you looking for when you interview people? What exactly are you looking for from the overall qualifying criteria perspective?
I have a cousin who has been in IT for years, and somebody I also look up to. And I remember him telling me, I was talking about a troubled employee, somebody I should have fired a lot sooner than I did. And he said, look, you can teach technology to anybody. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to teach personality.
Yes.
I like to tell this joke. How do you tell the difference between an introverted IT guy and an extroverted IT guy? Well, the introverted IT guy stares at his shoes when he's talking to you. The extroverted IT guy stares at your shoes when he's talking to you. Cutting through the, are you brilliant? Are you going to contribute? Sunny, in our business, you need people that can throw a party. Yeah. I've used that for years and years and years when I talk about hiring people. Throwing a party requires a number of distinct skills in terms of being able to attract the right people, keep them interested, ensure they have a good time, and know that they want to come back again. Yeah. And it's so critical in our business. I get, when people give me feedback on Priam, the guy we gave the backpack to, they'll say technically blah, 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 but most of the time they'll talk about his empathy, his compassion, his demeanor, his personality. That's the stuff that makes a difference.
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm looking for every time. I'm looking for that, the right kind of energy, the right kind of passion, the care, the compassion. I actually spent a bunch of money and hired a consultant and did compassion training with my team.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to hosting you this year as well on August 30th, our Build It year, 30 year of Build It. And this year, Gary Vee is going to be our keynote speaker, and Jack Daly is going to be there. A lot of great leaders going to be there, and it's going to be happening in the happening city, the most happening city on this earth, which is New York City. And so we appreciate your partnership, David. And thank you so much for coming and joining me on this podcast.